The saddest feeling nowadays that all my dreams are much too far away. Sometimes the nights got me aching, working hours in the cold. And I can't imagine how it feels to end up where you feel you had to go. I've been lost, starving, praying nothing else will go wrong. I guess we're all dying, waiting for the world to lose control. Could you tell me what it's really like to feel like you've got the world by your side? Trust me, babe, I've done my good. Give all I had and a little more than I should. Got the sense.
Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do, and I'm being mighty bold calling today a 2 for Tuesday. Not so sure that I can make that claim. Going live right now for y'all watching the playback later. Going live just to record and give people the opportunity to see it live if you'd like to watch all the flaws that do come with the live show. But this is not our normal time. We're normally on at 9 p.m. Eastern. So don't feel alarmed if that we're switching. We are not. A ton I want to talk about, though, and it's all the same thing. Wicked Foxy Dragon, hello. Good to see you. The culture war. It goes on and on and on and on. And it is to benefit corruption. We are pitted against each other with nonsense so that bad people can do bad things. We're just going to have to, first of all, fight and win the culture war. The Overton window needs to slam shut on what is currently GOP politics and has been for the last 100+ years. Enough. We cannot have bigotry anymore. You don't have to like anyone, much less everyone. You don't have to have love in your heart. You don't have to have a shred of kindness. It'd be better if you did. But you don't have to have that stuff. All you need to do is mind your business. That is all that's required. You have to let people exist. Just like atheists are not out there trying to make Christians no longer exist. Jews are not out there trying to make Muslims no longer exist. Black people are not out there trying to make Asians no longer exist. These arbitrary dividers they're unnecessary. And they're silly. I'll tell you, though, there is one group of people we should be working hard to make sure no longer exists. I am advocating for doing away with them entirely. Billionaires. Nobody within the span of one lifetime does enough work to justify how much $1 billion crisp American dollars can purchase. Nobody deserves to have that amount of money. Why do people on the left so frequently say billionaires should not exist? That is because the being a billionaire is not a sign that you're good at business. It's a sign that business in the country in which you became a billionaire doesn't work properly. You shouldn't be able to bleed any group of people for that amount of money. And you know what? I'll even give you a the farthest possible exception I can think of to test this out, which is somebody who comes up with a cure for a disease. That, to me, is probably the most valuable single thing you can do and charge money for. Would we not have people striving to do that if by curing a disease you could get 990, let's say $5 million? I just bet you they would take that deal. You don't need $1 billion, in other words, to motivate anyone to do anything. There is not something that someone would hesitate to do that we would want done if they were only being compensated $50 million. Also known as making in 1 year what some people don't make in a lifetime. We got to get rid of them. And in order to do that, we need to stop the culture wars, which means we need to call them out for what they are. And we need to call out the actors for what they are. So let's get started. Would probably help if I recorded any of this. Stand by. Well, we're going to hope I don't replay the intro. Well, let's identify who are these culture warriors? Who are these folks who got nothing better to do than bother other people? Are they merely bored? Or are they bored and misinformed? Or are they bored and mean-spirited? I think it's the last one. I think it's actually all three. Why not? They're bored, they're misinformed, and they are also mean-spirited. And you should make sure that the casual observer is aware of this. The people who are out there trying to bother other people, the people who are running up to other players on the field and then flopping over as though that player they just ran up to somehow tackled them, those people are just about the lowest of the low, and the casual observer should be made aware of that. Let me show you what I'm talking about, right, John? This is I'm gonna butcher the name. This is from Blavity. The author is Christopher Rhodes. Let's have a look. A Miami-Dade County Elementary School banned Amanda Gorman's 2021 presidential inauguration poem from its library bookshelves, moving the book to the middle school section instead. As more information emerges about the parent who objected to Gorman's poem, a disturbing picture has emerged about the objecting mother and her radical history. So just to be clear, we're talking about a poem written for a presidential inauguration. Oh boy. One second. The Daily Beast reports that the objecting mother, Daily Salinas, is affiliated with Moms for Liberty, an ultra-conservative group that emerged in Florida to oppose masking and other COVID-19 restrictions. So let's just be clear. Moms for Liberty is a group that got people killed. It's an anti-science, wackadoo group full of dingbats. Idiots for idiocy. That is what Moms for Liberty is. These don't represent moms. They don't represent liberty. They represent being a moron as a hobby. They opposed masking and other safety precautions for COVID-19 before we had any way to fight it, other than these admittedly weak but better than nothing safety precautions. So Moms for Liberty, she's a part of a group that got people killed, that sided with a disease. That is who got the poet laureates, or the Amanda Gorman's poem, yanked off of the shelves. Okay. The group has since grown into a multi-state organization. This filth is spreading, that has sought to censor content produced for and about minorities. They want to erase minorities from public schools, as well as, that's not an exaggeration, by the way. I realize conservatives exaggerate all the time. Conservatives pretend like Christians are under assault when other people simply want to exist. This is not that. They are actively seeking out anything with minorities in it and trying to get rid of it. This group has since grown into a multi-state organization that has sought to censor content produced for and about minorities from public schools, as well as forcefully pushing other conservative causes. They want to indoctrinate kids, in other words, into their filth that leads them to believe things like they should side with a disease during a pandemic. That is who these people are. Be very clear about that when you talk with others about them. They are deserving of no respect. They are deserving of derision at best. Manslaughter charges for their COVID-19 behavior in a fair country. Salinas and other Moms for Liberty affiliates, and another Moms for Liberty affiliate were particular. What? Salinas and another Moms for Liberty affiliate were okay. Particular was forcefully removed for interrupting a sex discussion. Okay. At a 2022 Miami-Dade County School Board meeting, one of many times that Moms for Liberty affiliates have engaged in disruptive or even threatening behavior towards school boards and other officials. That's because these people haven't had any backlash at all to their obscene behavior. And they're going to keep pushing and becoming more and more terrorist-like. Guess what? When you are threatening school boards, that's terrorism. You are using the threat of violence to achieve a political end. Incidentally, it happens to be a foul political end. I might understand it if it was a global warming thing. I might understand the threat of violence then, because it's ultimately about self-defense. This is not. This is just a desire to make life worse for other people. That's all they care about. By the way, I don't approve, under any situation, using terrorist tactics. But I want to be as fair as possible. I would understand it in some cases, even if I disagreed with it. In this, it's not even worthy of that. In addition to being tied to Moms for Liberty, Salinas has also been linked to the Proud Boys. You know, that terrorist group that tried a coup in the United States? The muscle for the coup? People whose job it was to lead the crowds into the Capitol? Those punks. She has been linked to them. The far-right group that recently had several of its members convicted on conspiracy charges for their role in the January 6, 2021 insurrection. The Guardian documents several instances of Salinas appearing with or praising the Proud Boys, including a picture with now incarcerated leader Enrique Tarrio. There it is. There it is. That's who these people are. She has ties to anti-Semitic groups. Oh, why not? Oh, why not? Salinas has also made a series of anti-Semitic posts on Facebook spreading old conspiracy theories. Hey, look at that. Salinas later apologized, oh good, to the Jewish Telegraphic Agency for the post, saying, "I'm not what the post says." So, what can we learn from this? Well, here she is after being called out on her bigotry. She apologized for it and pretended like she didn't really believe the things she said. She just chose to say them for unknown reasons. Salinas really does have a special hatred for black people because she refuses to pull back on her demand that that book be taken out. I don't think the issue here is that she's not a serious person. She isn't a serious person, but that's not the issue. The issue is that we take her seriously. It's that the school board took her seriously. Here's the correct reaction to those kinds of demands. No, we will not remove this book. And then if she tries to act like a terrorist about it, you call the police, you have them come by and shoot her in the head. Like they would to a left activist. That's the reaction. You don't put up with this nonsense. By the way, I don't agree with state violence either. But you simply insist that these people be treated like the worst of us. So whatever the cruelest behavior we have in the books is, it will be applied to them because they are the worst of us. Now, what do I really want to happen? What I'd really like to happen is have that school board say no. And then, inevitably, a Salinas or someone like her does something froggy, and the police come by with a bullhorn because she's a conservative, and they talk her down, and they quietly arrest her, and they politely take her in front of a judge who calmly issues a sentence. That's the way it should be. But we need to be crystal clear. These are the worst people in our society, which means we need to treat them as the biggest threat because it's what they are. So the behavior that is acceptable for our government to do should be defined by how these people are treated. I don't ever want to see another peaceful left activist getting their ribs kicked in by cops when people like Salinas are out there spreading hate, trying to get lynchings started up in America again. I don't want to see it. And what can we do? What can we citizens do? We who do not have the legal ability to use violence, well, good news, it's better. It's more effective. Call them culture warriors. We're going to talk about that more in a moment. And I want to hear what you guys have to say first. But call them culture warriors in the same way left activists, or even just people who gave a damn about other human beings, used to be called social justice warriors. We're going to get that started again. But let's find out what the Wicked community has to say first. Hello, Jess Rush. Hello, Wicked Foxy Dragon. And Janie Buck. Oh, hello. Good to see y'all. I'm telling you, man. Sorry it's at a weird time today. It's the way she goes sometimes. Oh, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Yes, please. Mental head smack at Jake. Yeah, I went a little too hard. I don't, for the record, I don't actually want the state to engage in violence against anybody. But I do want to shock people into seeing state violence for what it is. We cannot truly, we cannot have anybody doing violence in our name without a real good reason. I don't even want police to carry guns as like standard issue gear. It's exhausting. It doesn't compute to me with what the job is supposed to be. It's supposed to be peacekeeping. How do you keep peace with tools of war? Well, let's get down to the nitty and the gritty. The stuff that we actually can do. The stuff that's within our power. And that is talking about this culture war. Sam Cedar earlier today talked about where it comes from. And I think he was dead on. Let's have a look. Hey, there we go.
And he desperately wanted to be liked by Hollywood people. And they didn't. They didn't like him. I mean,
didn't have the intro. Now I got to restart the recording. Stand by. Let me try it again. You know what? I'm just going to do a whole intro. How about that? Nope. Okay, here we go. If you have been following... Nope. All right, one last time. Here we go. If you have been following the news of late, you will be aware that Target was recently made by force to pull products from its shelves. A bunch of conservative terrorists and stochastic terrorists got together and made it unsafe for Target employees so long as Target carried products on its shelf that appealed to anyone other than bigots. Things with rainbows on them. Things designed for trans people. If it wasn't designed specifically for a conservative bigot, it had to get pulled off the shelves. Target specifically cited the threat to their employees' safety in their explanation for why they pulled these products. This is after a massive backlash, simply because I believe it was Matt Walsh decided we're going to pick a company and we are going to harass that company until they engage in bigotry with us. Where does this come from? Where do you get a political party full of terrorists? Where do you get look, it's their words. CPAC 2022, they literally had a banner saying we are all domestic terrorists. They are all domestic terrorists. The Republican Party is a criminal organization. So where does it come from? How do you convince a whole group of people to join in? The Majority Report talked about the origins of this. I think it's important for us to understand because it's going to affect how we deal with them. And I'll tell you up front, there are two levels two levels of terrorists. One is what we're dealing with now. One is the target crowd. The people that, they're more pretending to pass as normal people, when in fact they're just a bunch of hateful clowns. The other's this. Let's try this out. Here's what it leads to. West Palm Beach this afternoon. This is on Reddit in the community. Conservative terrorism. Excuse me. Is it conservative terrorists? Yeah, no, it's conservative terrorism. Let me refresh this. Here it is. West Palm Beach this afternoon. DeSantis is Florida. Everyone, says the user, please renew your vote by mail ballot request. Look at that. Whites against replacement. Whites against replacement. The acronym, which they helpfully highlight there, is WAR. War is what they are evoking there. That is, on its face, terrorism. It is the threat of violence to achieve a political end. And look at the end. It's the whites, the Nazis, according to that swastika. If you don't know, that other sign says pick one, Nazis or pedos. I gotta tell you, it is a rather serious choice. When I am choosing a side, I definitely want the side that is not bigoted. And I also want the side with less pedophiles. So that is 2 knocks against the Nazis. It gets worse every day. Every single day it gets worse. They get bolder because we don't act firmly. They're like dogs begging for a firm hand to guide them. Chewing up the couch because they want to be told what to do. They certainly, these folks who are running amok out there are just unable to think for themselves, and they've let awful people do their thinking for them. Sam Cedar often talks about fundamentalism and the fact that it really comes down to the relief of not having choices in life. But who are the influencers? Who are the people behind this? That are working to make it happen, to ensure that America is as bigoted as possible, is infighting as much as possible. And why? Why? There's a reason. Let me show you. Sam Cedar just talked about it today. It's every bit as sad as you're probably imagining.
And he desperately wanted to be liked by Hollywood people, and they didn't. They didn't like him. I mean, they barely knew him. He was just a nobody.
Talking about not your old pal Jake, which is this, so far the same story, except that I didn't want to be liked. But no, he's talking about Andrew Breitbart. Andrew Breitbart. And the origins of him. This is the guy that got Ben Shapiro started. This is the guy that founded a bunch of right-wing, far right-wing, proto-terrorist networks. Well, he got started in Hollywood where he got rejected. All right, let's let Sam take it home.
He was just one of the kids in high school who felt like there were cool kids and he wasn't one of them, and he couldn't graduate out of that period. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you guys were the cool kids in high school. I certainly wasn't. I spent my lunches for most of my time just trying to kill time so people wouldn't realize I was sitting by myself. But then you graduate college and you become an adult and you get over it. Andrew Breitbart never did. And it killed him that showbiz people did not like him. And I have tapes of like when he gave private talks, not private, but like in like, you know, young Republican talks at college. And the way that he would shit on some of these celebrities who had rebuffed him was creepy as hell. Creepy as hell. And he was convinced that politics are downstream from culture. Because he was mad that, you know, he needed to rebel against Hollywood, but he wanted to be able to be accepted in he wanted to buy into the celebrity. So the only thing that he could really reject about Hollywood was the liberal bent that not everybody, but a lot of people, and it's not like these are not socialists in Hollywood, I can assure you. They're just like standard issue liberals. They're artists. They just don't care about this rigidity. And that's what he rebelled against. Not because he cared about ideology. You Google Andrew Breitbart and policy. He didn't care anything about policy. He had no ideas. Conservative to him was a team. And it was the team that could allow him to resent those people in Hollywood who rejected him. That's all it was for him. And his whole thing was politics are downstream from culture. That's where Shapiro got his start. That's what Bannon took over. He got into business with Bannon. Bannon had the exact same experience. He had a piece. He had been like a Wall Street guy and he invested a piece into Castle Rock, got a piece of the Seinfeld fortune. And that's what they're all become. They have won. And that's what spread to talk radio. And that's what gave us Donald Trump. What was the policy proposal that Donald Trump was running on?
The wall, I think, was the one.
That's just a physical manifestation of bigotry. It's not, it's like there was no, we've done tests on this and it's going to have this effect or that effect. Everything, and to the extent that any of that existed, it was all reverse engineered. The entire Republican Party, the entire conservative movement has become just this notion of just the culture war. I mean, they've always been waging it, but it's just the culture war now. And they think that if they can get Target not to have, you know, a T-shirt that says not a phase, then magical things will happen. As if this society was so like promoting transgenderism. And that's why you have, what is it now? 4,000 kids out of, I don't know, we have 1.5 million kids in New York City public schools alone. And there's 4,000 around the country that get some type of like gender affirming care. As opposed to people just, you know, kids just going like, I'm going to dress in loose fitting clothes. But this is what they've become now. And so attacking, you know, Target because of these clothes, that.
I love what he said there. The wall really was just a symbol. It was another Confederate statue. It was a declaration of hatred for a bunch of culture warriors. And we knew this. I mean, how many times did we discuss the implementation of it? We said we were against it in principle. And then we would also argue, even if you're for it, you know, if you're the kind of filth that wants a symbol like that, the logistics of it, I mean, it won't work. Even if you want to be the kind of person that makes a refugee's life even harder. They have to flee for their lives. They come running to your country for rescue, and you put a wall in front of them, even if you're that kind of filth. You would still be faced with the fact that Trump's plan for the wall was ludicrous. It was a silly plan. Like, logistically, it just didn't make sense. They didn't care about that at all. They just wanted their hate symbol. They want to say the N-word, but they can't say the N-word. They want to say all the slurs, but they're not allowed to say the slurs. You can't say slurs anymore. But they want to let us all know that that's what they'd like to say. So they have shorthand now. Build the wall. MAGA. It's just like the Confederate hat. It's the same thing. It's a wink to the rest of us to let us all know they hate us. Decent folks of all stripes. Regular folks and their allies. So, it's a culture war. I realize Sam Cedar keeps saying that Andrew Breitbart and then Steve Bannon believe that politics is downstream of culture. So do I. I think they're correct. I think they have a garbage culture, but I do think politics are downstream of culture. If you come from a culture that tells you you should treat people decently and fairly, then your politics will skew towards policies which are principled and go off universal thinking and do treat people decently and fairly and is interested in actually studying the outcomes to ensure that you have selected policies which treat people decently and fairly. Whereas, if you're immersed in a culture that tells you that anyone who is not exactly like you is trying to destroy you and you got to get them first, well, guess what? You're going to be a conservative. You're going to be an ultra-right psychopath who has no interest in measuring the outcomes, who has no interest in an honest conversation, because they only need to signal within their own group to say, hey, I'm one of you, I'm looking out for you. And everything else is just meant to confuse or distract the other people so they don't fight us as hard because they don't know we're coming to kill them. You don't think they're coming to kill? Nazis in Florida literally saying it's time for war. Yes, they are. First, convincing us that the people aren't even there. Their victims aren't even there, so how could they be attacking them? Erase them from target. Get rid of them so they can quietly kill them for sport. It's part of their culture war. Remember what Afghanistan looked like right before their revolution? See those pictures, the before and after? It's 1979 for the U.S. right now in that regard. Was it 79? Whenever that happened. Yeah, we're at a crossroads. Here's how I suggest we fight it. The folks on the right are dumb as hell. And I know this because they seem to have about the same intelligence that I do. So I can confirm they're a simple lot. You know what had a really chilling effect for me back in the day? When somebody would call me a social justice warrior. That worked on me. It would make me feel like I was being silly. Or really that the points I was making should not be taken seriously, and that I should feel foolish for having them. Now, after responding to that criticism and backing off for years on publicly talking about that kind of stuff, now my fears of the time have actually been proven right. So I'm back to it, and I wear social justice warrior. If somebody were to pull that out of the dust off that insult, I would wear that as a mark of pride, and I think they know that. Yet, we should take a lesson from that. It did have a chilling effect. Just like people making a joke out of political correctness had a chilling effect on being politically correct. These were all just code words for not being a bigoted see you next Tuesday. Anytime somebody was not a bigot, just like selling a pride shirt at Target, anytime somebody was not a bigot, they were accused of being a social justice warrior. We need to do the opposite. Anytime somebody is being a bigot, we need to call them a culture warrior. Help me do that. That's the insult I'm going to use. And I'm going to try to get started. And I'm going to use this channel to increase the odds that it catches on. Start calling these people culture warriors. Not the terrorists. The Nazis out there with their war sign. You call them terrorists because that's what they are. And that's worse. That is worse. But the retirees with nothing better to do than wander through Target and complain when anybody except them is being advertised to. Call them culture warriors. Mock them. When somebody's complaining online about some frivolous thing, some mildly, some poorly hidden bigoted opinion, call him a culture warrior. Say, okay, we got a culture warrior here. Oh, what's next? Did somebody eat meat on a Friday? Oh, you got a lot of Jews in your area making you really nervous? Okay, culture warrior. We need to pick up the culture war and be active about it and make it clear to the people whose culture is toxic that they have a bad culture, because they do. It is a breeding ground for domestic terrorists, and now our country every day is having to endure terrorism. There are real world effects that are being felt in our lives. Some of them are just inconvenient. If you wanted a t-shirt with a rainbow on it, well, now you can't get one from Target. You cannot get it. Because it had to get pulled. Because employees' lives were being threatened. Going to get more and more serious. If you're a woman in the South, except for, I think, South Carolina? Good luck getting an abortion. Good luck at all. Forced pregnancy is the norm in the South now. And it will keep going. NAACP issued a travel warning to African Americans, black people. Going to keep getting worse. Tell these people their culture is trash, because their culture is trash. And they need to be aware of it. At least give them a fair shot to change that by having some real talk with them. Call them culture warriors. It's a good place to start. Let's see what y'all have to say. Have a look. Tamara Chance. I'm not a big warrior. I'm more of a worrier. Fair enough. Fair enough. Mars Falcon. I recall when SJW became the new PC catchphrase. I knew folk that used it as a slur, and from jump I asked which part of social justice was bad. Turns out it meant the same thing as woke does. Nada. Exactly. Exactly. Anti-corporatist. Allies of regular folks? Yeah. Yeah. Really just people who are kind. People who are allies to other people. Just people who are not actively attacking others. Ally is, at this point, to me, it just means like law-abiding citizen. Who you can be a gay ally, a straight ally, you can be whatever, as long as you don't want somebody to be systematically purged. Patrick Kibido, I got a Rival Sus commercial. You are getting big time, Jake. Well, all right. We're selling Rival Sus now. Oh, Wicked Foxy Dragon asking everyone to hit that thumbs up button. Yes, please. And thank you. If you're enjoying the show, please do hit that thumbs up button. It helps immensely. And good memory, Foxy. Oh, no, anti-corporatist. Yeah, well, it wouldn't kill. Yeah, I see what you say. You're driving all the time. I hear it. You're trucking, right? Much respect, brother. That is a cool job. There's tons of interesting jobs, but there are a few cool ones. That one is a genuinely cool job. Tamara Chance, think logically, vote blue. Brilliantly put. Yes. Anti-corporatists, call them snowflakes. Yes, 100%. 100%. Oh, mercy me. Oh, I can't. I love this. Patrick Kibido says right-wingers can't respond to adverbs in a debate. How? Why? When? So true. Yes. Oh, anti-corporatist. Yes, indeed. With the job there. I gotta be a less jealous person. Every time I hear about a cool job, I'm like, could I? Is there time in the day? I'll tell you. I'll probably about 2 years before official retirement, I'll probably take a job doing that just to get it on the bucket or off the bucket list. All right, I got one more for you. Let's just have a gander. Let's jump right in. Now, I'll just come out and say it at the jump, because I'm a fan of saying something inflammatory and then working back to a normal opinion from there. But it's in the interest of keeping things interesting. But I have to admit, just with numbers, there's no way in the world that somebody from MSNBC has ever even been informed that this show exists, much less has actually seen it. So only you watching right now will appreciate how hard I laughed when I heard somebody use a word that has only been used on this show and in 1940s radio. Incidentally, they're talking about important political events. Let's watch them MSNBC. Oh boy. Nick of time.
In the Trump classified documents probe. The Guardian's reporting Trump's lawyer was, quote, waved off from searching Trump's office for records, which was later where the FBI found the most sensitive materials. noting several Trump aides told this lawyer, Evan Corcoran, to search the storage room where he found 38 classified documents. Corcoran then asked whether he should search anywhere else, but was steered away. I want to know.
So just to be real clear, Trump has done a lot of things that are immoral, a lot that are illegal. I only advocate for us actually introducing him to the justice system for the illegal things. And then most of the immoral things making illegal and holding others to a higher account. He's also obstructed justice in other matters. At least it appears he has. Allies of his have been charged with that. Allies of his have gone to prison for that. And yet, just like Capone with tax evasion, at the end of the day, you don't pick what crimes you're going to charge based on what would be the most satisfying. You pick them based on what you can prove. I think we can prove just about all of the crimes Trump did, but this one we can prove first, because this one, it seems, we can prove right now.
Note that
Obstruction in the documents case.
a Trump spokesperson denied that allegation, but we already know special counsel.
It is thought, I don't know this, but it is thought that this right here, I think you can see the mouse. Oh, you can't see the mouse. The document up front might have been copied. We might be looking at a copy of a document. That does appear, I don't know. I, rightly, have never been trusted with these things. Much like Trump, I should never be trusted with these things. Unlike Trump, I at least have the decency to acknowledge that and not run for president.
Jack Smith has been eyeing obstruction charges, and that does not look good for Donald Trump. New reports also depicting chaos on Trump's legal team. The Daily Beast reporting Trump's lawyers are starting to wonder if there might be a snitch. When is that? Snitches get stitches. One member of his legal team saying, quote, "There's a lot of lawyers and a lot of jealousy." I wrote a piece on this for MSNBC.com, and I pointed out, quote, "With Trump, you have the perfect storm of infighting lawyers jostling for pole position and a client who's prone to embracing the microphone and never meeting a camera he didn't love." I concluded, quote, "It's a recipe for an attorney-client disaster." Trump is also reportedly...
To be clear, though, and to be fair to his lawyers, you also have a client who views lawyers as accomplices. I think that most of us look at lawyers like fancy Dans. These are sophisticated, serious people, in our view. To Trump, lawyers are the help. He has no compunction about asking the help to assist him in his crimes. He has no morality. Right and wrong is not... I mean, when have you ever seen him agonizing over what would be the morally correct thing to do? Not a once. Not a once. So, to be fair to his lawyers, the client, although he has a right to an attorney, is someone who is prone to trying to use an attorney illegally.
Buying revenge. Rolling Stone reporting Trump's team is, quote, scrambling to unmask the feds investigating him. Trump telling his allies if he becomes president again, he wants...
Gotta pause it again. It's like a Fox News segment. Why on earth? I mean, all right. I'm not pausing to correct the record. This is so insane that this story alone would have movies done about it. Whole movies, if it were any other presidency. This story alone, this is as bad as Watergate in terms of the illegality. Listen to that.
Unmask the feds investigating him.
Unmask the feds investigating him? Why does he need to do that? Why does he need to know who's investigating him? Why is that relevant? So he can attack them. That's what so he can attack them like he attacks everybody who dares go against him in any way, shape, or form, whether it be political opinion or attempting to make the law apply to him like it does to everyone else. That right there, you should go after. Aggressively go after anyone in your community who says they support this guy. Why is he trying to unmask the people investigating it? How about you'll find out if and when they bring charges, at which point you'll have an opportunity to defend yourself. Until then, you do not obstruct the investigation. That is a crime. It's not a surprise to me that his supporters don't think of it like that, because we, apparently, as a society, choose not to treat it like that when a rich person does it, when a powerful person does it. Then we don't treat it like a crime. We treat it like it's rude. But make no mistake, if you or I tried that, we would be awaiting the end of the investigation from a jail cell. And when we were released, even if it was found that we had done nothing else wrong, we would have no right to compensation for the time we spent in that cell. That is how Trump needs to be treated. The harshest possible treatment that we offer for the worst possible offenses. That is why we have a scale of discretion that we can use in cases like this. This guy should be in a cell right now, just based off this right here, an organized attempt to uncover information about people investigating him. I'm going to let her go for a while.
Trump telling his allies if he becomes president again, he wants the DOJ to, quote, quickly and immediately purge the FBI and DOJ of the officials who led these probes. Joining me now is Hugo Lowell, political investigations reporter for The Guardian. He broke that story that we just reported. And Dave Ehrenberg, state attorney for Palm Beach County in Florida. Hugo, I'm going to start with you. What can you add to your great reporting about Evan Corcoran being steered away from searching Trump's personal office at Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, we know that the special counsel in this investigation pierced the attorney-client privilege between Trump and the lawyer Evan Corcoran because he suspected that Corcoran was misled when he attested to the Justice Department that he had fully complied with the subpoena and that there was no other classified documents remaining at Mar-a-Lago. And as we have recently learned, that appears to have been correct because Evan basically told his associates that he was waived off from searching elsewhere at Mar-a-Lago, anywhere other than the storage room. So that's like Trump's office, the residence. And we know from the FBI's inventory of what they seized at Mar-a-Lago when they went down months later with a search warrant, that the office was where the most highly sensitive documents were deposited. Dozens of top secret and secret documents were found either in Trump's desk drawer or in a leather-bound box. And so the fact that Evan was not given the opportunity or was basically steered away from looking in the office becomes really important in the obstruction investigation, like you said. And this is not an accident. This was him deliberately being told, don't go to the office. It's just sufficient to look in the storage room. And we think, based on our reporting, that is a material misleading statement.
Yeah, but Hugo, I'm going to stay with you for just a second. You also reported, quote, it wasn't clear who waived off Corcoran from searching elsewhere at Mar-a-Lago, whether it was Trump himself or Trump employees who advised him to look for classified documents in the storage room. I mean, Hugo, isn't that important, though, for special counsel Jack Smith to know who was telling Corcoran where to look and the timing of when he was told to look?
Yeah, and we have an account basically of what Evan Corcoran told associates. He was effectively complaining that he had been misled, and he was lamenting the fact that the search should have been better because it placed him and Trump in a lot of potential legal jeopardy. It is true we don't know who waived Evan off, and we continue to learn more details about what transpired at Mar-a-Lago this time last year. And of course, if it was Trump who told Evan not to search in specific places, that would be as clear evidence of obstruction as I think you could get. It's not clear, though, that that's the case. You know, when Evan was told to look in the storage room, for instance, he was told by other employees at Mar-a-Lago, people who were familiar where things had been deposited at the end of the administration. So we don't know exactly who told him where to look. But the fact that generally he was steered away from where the most highly sensitive, the most highly classified documents were kept, we think is particularly important to the investigation.
Dave, let's talk.
Just real quick. Do we, like, am I alone here? Does that not seem to you like absolutely insane behavior? Like blatantly illegal behavior. Does that not seem like that? Kind of seems like the sort of thing somebody shouldn't be able to get away with for very long. It seems like the sort of thing that if a reporter was able to find out about, the investigators should have been able to find out about. And if the investigators knew about that, or now if they know to look into that and can prove it to be true, that's the sort of thing they should act on. They should press charges for, just for that. We can also charge around the rest of it. But that alone. Get the statements, have the case. Have Trump go into the trial he was going to have with his criminal record bumped up even more. The accumulation of this behavior also needs to be dealt with.
About people in the know. We mentioned that there's reporting that there's infighting on the Trump lawyer team, and I want to focus on this for a second with you. The Daily Piece has reported that, has reported much of the anger from Trump's lawyers is directed at the former president's right-hand man, Boris Epshteyn, who's accused of running interference on certain legal advice from more experienced courtroom gladiators. Let's talk about attorney-client privilege, because I think this is really important. Hugo just talked about the fact that there were these 50 pages of notes that were done by Evan Corcoran. The attorney-client privilege is pierced. But walk me through this a little bit. If it's not Donald Trump, if he's relying on Boris to be able to tell somebody like Evan Corcoran where to look, do you truly still have an attorney-client relationship there? Because I feel like you wouldn't have had a piercing of attorney-client privilege if it didn't involve Trump in some way.
Yeah, no, this is all going towards Donald Trump. That's why the greatest threat to Trump's future freedom is in the Mar-a-Lago documents case, because there is a direct tie between Trump and the alleged criminality there. That's why they're able to pierce attorney-client privilege, because there's a crime fraud exception. And the thinking is that Trump used his lawyers to facilitate a crime. And so, yeah, they can try to blame it on Boris Epshteyn. He's an easy target. But at the end of the day, these lawyers are quitting for a reason, I think, other than personalities. I think they worry about being prosecuted themselves. And also, Trump's a tough client to have. I mean, the lawyer sent a letter, Paul Latour sent a letter to Congress saying Trump didn't pack the documents himself. He had no dirty hands. It was his staff who did it. And then Trump went on that town hall and said, no, I did it. I'm the one who did it. Here it is. And so that's
another important thing. Technically, a lawyer is not supposed can't lie. Like, if you tell your lawyer that you did X, the lawyer can't say, well, we don't want to say that. Let's say you did Y instead. I'm not suggesting that there's not ways to get around that, but generally speaking, when you present a certain set of facts to your lawyer, they have to represent those facts. They do so in the best light possible, but they cannot lie. So when she said Trump didn't touch these documents, it most likely meant that Trump told her, I didn't touch him. I didn't touch him. So that's not her hearing that her client is just going against the case she is presenting to the public and to the justice system in the United States, the government. That's not just her hearing that. That's also hearing her hearing that her client lied to her. That's a big deal. Imagine trying to build a house, but you're not sure if you actually have the building materials that you were promised. That is what a lie is when your client lies to you in a court case. You cannot design a court case like that.
That's why I think.
By the way, just as a side note, that's Trump trying to lie to the government again, through his lawyers.
Think that they're so frustrated with Trump, and instead they're just blaming it all on Boris Epstein. I think they're trying to cover for Trump.
But can Trump invoke that as a legal defense? If Jack Smith comes after him, can he say, don't look at me. I didn't tell the FBI, the DOJ where things are. I didn't tell Evan Corcoran where to look. That was Boris's fault, or that's Evan's fault.
That's what he's going to say. Like, I'm not the one who said this. But then if the reports are right that he's the one who told his valet, Walt Nada, to move the documents before and after the subpoena, oh, that's a one-way ticket to the Huskow. I mean, that is really bad for Donald Trump. Plus, he's the one who keeps saying the documents are mine. And so it's his own word.
Well, I think we can confirm that this guy watches the show. Hi, good to see you, buddy. Glad you're tuning in. Either that or you're a fan of 1940s lingo. I don't know who else uses it other than the Wicked community and this guy. Love it.
I think they're going to get Donald Trump in trouble. I don't think you can just blame this on lawyers that he had nothing to do with. These are his people. These are his words and his directives.
Yeah, so Hugo, I mean, Ari himself has spoken with Boris Epstein on the beat before. Boris has admitted to being a part of the fake electors plot, the potentially illegal plot that is currently part of the Georgia criminal probe, as well as, frankly, the Jack Smith investigation. Let's take a quick listen.
I was part of the process to make sure there were alternate electors for when, as we hoped, the challenges to the seated electors would be heard and would be successful per the 12th Amendment of the Constitution and the Electoral Count Act. Everything that was done illegally by the Trump legal team, according to the rules and under the leadership of Rudy Giuliani.
I think that was a Freudian slip. I think he meant to say everything that was done legally. But it wasn't. It absolutely was not.
I kind of had to take a listen. Did he just say it was done illegally under the leadership of the Trump legal team? Hugo, is this the kind of lawyer that you want to be quarterbacking your legal team and organizing your legal defenses when he admits to something that doesn't sound legal to me, to Ari Melber on live TV?
It isn't.
I mean, aside from what Boris is saying himself, I mean, we know that Boris Epstein is the subject, at least, of multiple criminal investigations. You know, he went and sat for an interview with the special counsel in the January 6th investigation. He went and testified to the Fulton County District Attorney's investigation in Georgia examining election interference there. He is a subject, potentially a defendant in multiple criminal investigations, and he is currently representing, as the in-house counsel, in his own words, the president, the former president, who himself is the subject, if not the target, of these same criminal investigations. So it is rather astonishing that you have a lawyer whose own interests may not actually align with his clients, and yet he's continued to be a trusted advisor and continues to be the point person for the legal team. And I think that is partly why some of the lawyers have been so frustrated with having to go through Boris, have been so frustrated with having to deal with him as the point person. I think, as David said.
Anti-corporatists just want to say in the break, we will absolutely talk about The 25th Hour. That is a fantastic Ed Norton movie. Look, I'm going to try not to gag as I defend Boris Epstein in a moment. It's not easy. Okay, so look. A hero of mine is a gentleman by the name of Clarence Darrow. He was the defense in the Scopes monkey trial. It's a weird country. Yeah, he defended a person's right to teach evolution. Yes, it's not a new thing for the Christian nationalists to attack science. That's been a thing they've been chasing for a while. But he also defended some of the worst scum in the world. Clarence Darrow did. He was what a lawyer should be. And he is the ideal that we need to leave open. As in, we must leave room for. A person has a right to competent representation in court. I don't care how much you dislike him. I don't care if it's Ed Gein who ate people. They have a right to competent representation. The reason is not even to give them a fair crack at dodging responsibility. It's not that. It is to ensure that we get the whole truth, which includes somebody advocating for the accused. It's important. That means that Donald Trump, when he gets a lawyer, we have to understand that these people, even if they are conservative believers in all the Fox News, whatever, these people probably understand who he is. They were smart enough to pass the bar exam. That means they're smart enough, most likely, to tell when somebody is a fibber. Trump tells fibs. He is a prodigious liar. So they knew that going in. And we cannot blame them for having a client that is a liar. The issue I have with a lot of these attorneys is that they knew who Trump was. And by now they knew what Trump, or rather by the time they took the job, they knew what Trump was going to ask them to do. They did a reference to Midas touch, whether they knew it or not there, when they said make it, at the end of the clip, they say make attorneys get attorneys. I think Midas touch invented that, whatever. Certainly they've popularized it for me. Point being, they should have an idea by this point what they're getting into. So if they agree to do any of the illegal things that Trump asks them to do, then they need to be treated like defendants. And that is happening. Evan Corcoran, with others, it is happening. I caution us only to not judge the next lawyers too harshly before they demonstrate themselves to be worthy of harsh judgment. But yeah, just the broader thing here is not to pick on the servants. It's look at the big picture. Trump is trying to find out who's investigating him. Trump is trying to lie to the public by saying one thing to them and a different thing to the court. Trump's trying to lie to the court. Trump is lying to investigators. Trump is having henchmen hench for him. The guy who was his valet, whatever, the regular fella who got wrapped up in all of this, immediately had his lawyer provided by Donald Trump. Seems generous on the face of it until you remember that's mob tactics. How do you make sure somebody doesn't testify against you? Well, you put somebody in charge of their court case who you are paying. It's a criminal organization, the GOP, and Trump is the Don. He's the leader of it. He's the main guy. It'll keep being a criminal organization after he's gone. It was a criminal organization before he entered. They were just a lot more subtle. But do not forget they had to agree, the GOP, to a consent decree up until 2018, from the 80s until 2018, that prevented them from posting poll watchers, because the people that they had watching the polls were engaged in voter intimidation. They're a criminal organization. We need to treat them as such. We need to discuss them as such. We need to be aware of them as such. They are not a political party. The Green Party is a political party. The Democrats, of course, are a political party. You could argue that within the Democrats, the progressives are a political party, if not officially registered. They are a political organization, certainly. The GOP is not. Their main motivation is not politics. Their main motivation is not policy. They use politics and policy, but their main motivation is clearly power. They're trying to profit off of these public jobs. That is, they are corruption embodied. Be aware of what Trump's all about. Take heart in the fact that this is going to be the easiest crime I've seen so far of Trump's to prove. It beats out January 6th only in that you don't really need to know what his mindset was. He said contradictory things to the wrong people, the people you're not allowed to lie to, regarding matters you are certainly not allowed to lie about. I think we'll get him on most of the things he did. At least enough of them that the section on what he got finally charged for in the history books is going to be a thick one. You want to ensure that it happens, and it happens soon enough that we can restore some sanity to the United States. Why not write the Department of Justice and just tell them that you expect this criminal to be dealt with already? Just put pressure on them. If they're actually working hard at this, if they're actually intending to put forth a case in a timely manner, then they will ignore the email or the phone call. However, the contact information is in the description. They'll ignore it, and that's fine. If they're not planning on going after this guy as hard as they can, then it will be a well-needed kick in the butt. If they're starting to waver, if they're looking at the GOP terrorists and thinking, I'm a little afraid of these people, let them know that they should be afraid of serious people, first and foremost. The people who will kick them out of their jobs. Let's see what you all have to say. It was way longer than I intended. But Jake, will it happen in his lifetime, says Dawned on Me. I think so. I think it's going to happen. I think an actual conviction is going to happen early 2024. I think we're going to get appeal after appeal after appeal. But for the rest of his life, these trials and the punishment that follow them will be his main thing he's doing with his time. This guy committed so many crimes in such a slim amount of time that, yes, he's going to spend the rest of his life in a courtroom or in a jail cell. Patrick Thibodeau talking about the 25th Hour. If you got a buddy that's going to prison, that's a great movie to watch to prepare you for the experience. Nobody seems to do movies except for this one about the days before prison. And I'll tell you, man, that's something people need training for. How do you hang out with somebody who's about to go through going to go through a scheduled piece of agony? It's a hard thing. And I tell you, I definitely recommend you watch a 25th Hour if you have it. It'll give you much needed empathy for folks. The anti-corporatist. Sorry, my drunk homie was talking at me, so I've been AFK-ish for the last 20 to 30 minutes. I was just ranting about Trump. Play any episode, and it'll be similar vibes. Yeah, the guy's a criminal. Contact the DOJ. Oh shit, it could have been a 30-second one. But it was fun to look into it, and somebody said, who's Cow? The anti-corporatist said Pacman posted a pic of him looking bad earlier today. I saw that. Ooh, he did look bad. But he's, he's never been an athlete. Oh, Wicked Foxy Dragon, thinking the same thing. The gym and Krav Maga... the gym and Krav Maga training, that is about the only thing that would surprise me about Trump, if he suddenly got real into Krav Maga. Some Israeli martial arts, just randomly. Yes. Mars Falcon, school boards appease them. Yes, they do. We should, really, all be trying to get on our local school boards. I don't have kids, and I wonder if that means that I shouldn't. I don't know. We'll talk about this. I'll put up something in the community later. We should talk about, though, who's running for school board. I want somebody in this community running for something. I want to inspire at least one of you to get on the ballot, because we need decent people running our country. This needs to be seen as an occupation taken up by good human beings who aren't trying to get in a sneaky agenda, who aren't saying one thing out of one side of their mouth while they're really trying to do something else. We gotta have people who aren't believers in a flat Earth running this stuff. The anti-corporatist, I'll watch it after we finish. Not Trump, anyone else. Yes. And anti-corporatist, I should also clarify, it's kind of a bummer. It's a movie about a guy going to prison. But it's good. It is entertaining. All right, y'all. This has been a 2 for Tuesday. And I'll tell you, the length is just about 1.5-er. I do not think I'll be able to do another live show tonight, but we're going to have certainly recordings going up for the rest of the night. I will see y'all on a Wicked Wednesday. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for what you can do. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name's Jake. Oh, so loud. There we go. That's much more reasonable.